John is a kind-hearted janitor. Unexpectedly, he has displayed kindness. Michael is the owner of the diner, and he suspected that Emily was his biological child, which was detected after rapidly testing her DNA. That was the reason for their heartwarming reunion with her sister Sarah after the separation at birth. The streets of San Francisco in the 1990s, with their pulsating life and endless possibilities, held a different reality for Emily. At 24, with her life cradled in the uncertainty of the future, she found herself wandering these streets, a silent spectator to the world's indifference. Her eyes, once brimming with the dreams of youth, now reflected the weariness of a life lived in the shadows. Emily's days were spent in the alleys and corners of the city, her presence barely registering to the passers-by. The cold, hard pavement was her bed, the sky her only roof. With each sunrise, her hope dimmed, clouded by the memories of a past that clung to her like a persistent shadow. The loss of her mother, Margaret, had been a crushing blow, leaving her adrift in a sea of grief. But it was the presence of her abusive stepfather that haunted her the most, a constant reminder of the life she desperately wanted to escape. Her pregnancy added a new layer of worry. Emily often found herself talking to the life growing inside her, promising a world far better than the one she knew. Her hands would gently caress her belly, a protective gesture that belied her own vulnerability. On one particularly brisk evening, as the city lights began to twinkle like distant stars, Emily found herself outside a quaint eatery. The aromas of cooked meals wafted through the air, a cruel reminder of her gnawing hunger. She settled down nearby, wrapping her thin shawl tighter around her, a futile defense against the creeping chill. It was then that John appeared, stepping out of the eatery with a trash bag in hand. He was a simple man. His life revolving around the mundane routine of cleaning and maintaining the restaurant. Yet, there was a gentleness in his eyes, a kind of unspoken understanding that seemed to reach out to her. Noticing Emily, John hesitated for a moment, his heart tugging at the sight of her fragile form. Setting the trash bag down, he approached her, his steps tentative. "Are you hungry?" he asked, his voice soft, almost hesitant. Emily looked up, her eyes meeting his. In them, he saw not just hunger, but a deep, aching loneliness. She nodded, unable to find the words. John disappeared inside and quickly returned with a plate of food, his actions speaking louder than any words could. As he handed her the meal, their hands briefly touched, a fleeting connection that stirred something within both of them. Emily ate slowly, savoring each bite, her body trembling not just from the cold, but also from the overwhelming sense of gratitude. For the first time in a long while, she felt seen, acknowledged by a stranger who asked nothing in return. John sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. They spoke little, the silence between them comfortable, unforced. He learned about her love for books, her dreams of becoming a writer, and the cruel twist of fate that led her to the streets. Emily, in turn, saw the kindness in John, a man who found joy in the simple act of helping others. As the night deepened, John offered her a blanket from the restaurant, his eyes filled with an unspoken promise to help in whatever way he could. Emily accepted it, her heart swelling with a mix of emotions: hope, gratitude, and a faint glimmer of optimism. That night, under the blanket's meager warmth, Emily allowed herself to dream again, dreams of a future where she could live freely, away from the shadows of her past, dreams where her child would know love and kindness, the kind that John, a simple janitor with a heart of gold, had shown her. In the heart of the bustling city, amidst the indifferent crowd, a bond was formed, a bond that transcended the barriers of social standings, born out of a shared moment of humanity. For Emily, that night marked the beginning of a journey, one that promised a path to healing and redemption, guided by the unexpected kindness of a stranger. As the dawn broke over San Francisco, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Emily awoke under the tattered blanket John had provided. The streets slowly stirred to life, with the sounds of the city weaving a familiar cacophony. Emily, however, felt a subtle shift within her, a flicker of hope ignited by John's simple act of kindness the night before. Later that morning, as the diner buzzed with the early rush of customers, John found himself distracted, his thoughts lingering on Emily. He couldn't shake the image of her frail form huddled on the pavement, or the way her eyes had lit up with a mix of gratitude and surprise when he offered her the meal. Deciding to check on her, John took a brief break, stepping out into the crisp morning air. He found Emily sitting in the same spot, her eyes lost in the pages of a worn-out book. Seeing her engrossed in reading, a passion she had mentioned the previous night, brought a smile to John's face. He approached her, a steaming cup of coffee and a fresh sandwich in hand. "Thought you might need a warm start to your day," he said, extending the food towards her. Emily looked up, her eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and disbelief. "Thank you, John," she murmured, accepting the meal. "No one has ever been this kind to me before." As they conversed, Emily shared more about her life. She spoke of her mother, Margaret, a gentle soul who had passed away, leaving her in the clutches of a cruel stepfather. Her voice trembled as she recounted the days filled with fear and despair, her stepfather's shadow looming over her every move. Emily also revealed her fleeting relationship with Richard, a man who had once promised her a world of love and security, only to leave her heartbroken and alone. John listened intently, his respect for Emily growing with each word. It was clear that life had dealt her a harsh hand, yet she carried herself with a dignity that was both humbling and inspiring. He felt a protective instinct stir within him, a desire to help her find a way out of her predicament. "I can't change your past, Emily, but maybe I can help with your future," John said, his voice firm with resolve. "Let me speak to my boss, Michael. He's a good man. Maybe there's something we can do for you, a job or at least a place to stay." Emily's eyes widened with a mix of hope and apprehension. "I couldn't impose on you like that," she protested softly. "It's not an imposition," John assured her. "Everyone deserves a helping hand. Besides, I have a feeling Michael will want to help." As they parted ways, Emily felt a warmth in her heart that had been absent for far too long. She watched John walk back into the diner, his figure a symbol of the unexpected kindness that had entered her life. For the first time in years, Emily dared to believe that maybe, just maybe, her life could take a turn for the better. Inside the diner, John approached Michael, the owner of the eatery and his employer. He was nervous, unsure of how Michael would react to his request. Michael was a man of few words, but he had always been fair and understanding. Gathering his courage, John began to explain Emily's situation, hoping beyond hope that Michael would see the same potential in Emily that he did. While John discussed Emily's plight with Michael, Emily found herself lost in thought, reflecting on her relationship with Richard. Once a beacon of hope in her life, Richard had become a symbol of broken promises and shattered dreams. Sitting alone with the city bustling around her, Emily's mind wandered back to the days when love seemed within reach, a stark contrast to her current reality. Richard, with his charming smile and promises of a better life, had swept Emily off her feet. Their whirlwind romance was a respite from her troubled life. He was everything she had dreamed of, attentive, affluent, and seemingly in love with her. But as quickly as he had appeared, he vanished, leaving Emily with a broken heart and a growing life inside her. The memories were painful, each one a reminder of her naivete and the harsh truth that she was now alone in her journey. The realization that she would soon be a mother, without support, without Richard, weighed heavily on her. Yet, as she sat there, a new resolve began to form within her. She would not let her past define her future, nor would she let her child suffer the consequences of her missteps. Meanwhile, in the diner, John nervously explained Emily's situation to Michael. He spoke of her struggles, her strength, and her need for a fresh start. John's sincerity and concern were evident. And as he talked, Michael's expression softened. He saw in John not just an employee, but a man of compassion, someone who truly cared about the well-being of others. "John, I appreciate you bringing this to me," Michael finally said, his voice thoughtful. "Let's see what we can do. Perhaps there's a way we can help her. Give her a job, or at least a safe place to stay for now." John's relief was palpable. He had hoped for a positive response, but Michael's willingness to help went beyond his expectations. He thanked Michael profusely, eager to share the good news with Emily. Back on the street, Emily stood up, brushing off her worn clothes. She decided to walk around the block, a way to clear her head and prepare for the uncertainties of the day. As she walked, she felt a strange sense of optimism. John's kindness had sparked a glimmer of hope, a feeling she had long forgotten. As she rounded the corner, she saw John emerging from the diner, his face lit up with a smile. Emily's heart skipped a beat, a mix of anticipation and anxiety coursing through her. John approached her, his stride confident. "Emily, I have some good news," he said, his eyes reflecting the sincerity of his words. "Michael, my boss, he's agreed to help. We can offer you a job at the diner, and we'll find a place for you to stay temporarily." The news hit Emily like a wave, a rush of emotions flooding her. Relief, gratitude, and a sense of disbelief washed over her. Tears welled up in her eyes as the reality of the situation sank in. This was the chance she had been longing for, a lifeline thrown in the midst of her turmoil. "Thank you, John," she managed to say, her voice choked with emotion. "Thank you for believing in me." As they stood there, amidst the hustle of the city, a bond of friendship and trust was solidified. John's act of reaching out to Michael had opened a door for Emily, a path leading away from the shadows of her past and towards a future filled with possibilities. In that moment, Emily realized that sometimes, amidst life's trials, a simple act of kindness could be the catalyst for a new beginning. The next morning, Emily, filled with a mix of apprehension and hope, followed John to the diner. The city was awakening, its streets gradually filling with the hustle and bustle of everyday life. As they walked, John shared stories about the diner and its regulars, trying to ease Emily's nerves. She listened, her mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. Upon their arrival, John introduced Emily to Michael, the diner's owner. Michael, a man with a commanding presence, regarded Emily with a thoughtful gaze. "Welcome, Emily," he said, his voice firm but kind. "John here has told me a lot about you. We're happy to help in any way we can." Emily, overwhelmed by the situation, managed a grateful smile. "Thank you, Mr. Michael. I appreciate this opportunity more than you can imagine," she said, her voice tinged with emotion. Michael nodded, then turned to John. "Why don't you show Emily around? Get her acquainted with the place. We'll start her off with some simple tasks and see how things go from there." As John led Emily through the diner, she was introduced to a world far removed from the one she had known. The warm aroma of coffee, the clatter of dishes, and the friendly chatter of customers created an inviting atmosphere. Emily felt a sense of belonging, a feeling that had eluded her for so long. John showed her the ropes, guiding her through various tasks. Emily was a quick learner, her eagerness to start anew fueling her determination. The staff welcomed her with open arms, their kindness further easing her into this new phase of her life. Meanwhile, Michael watched from a distance, a sense of satisfaction filling him. He saw potential in Emily, a strength and resilience that resonated with his own life experiences. In her, he saw not just an employee, but someone deserving of a second chance. As the day progressed, Emily found herself adapting to the rhythm of the diner. She took orders, cleaned tables, and even shared a few laughs with the customers. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of purpose, a feeling that she was part of something bigger than herself. At the end of her first day, as the diner's lights dimmed and the doors closed, Emily thanked John and Michael. "I can't tell you how much this means to me," she said, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You did great today, Emily," John replied, smiling. "We're glad to have you here." As Emily left the diner, A sense of accomplishment filled her. She had taken the first step towards rebuilding her life, a journey she knew would be challenging, but worth every effort. The kindness of John and Michael had given her a new lease on life, a chance to overcome the shadows of her past and embrace a future filled with hope. That night, as she lay in the modest room that the diner had arranged for her, Emily thought about her mother, Margaret. She whispered a silent promise to make the most of this opportunity, to create a better life for herself and her unborn child. With the support of her newfound friends at the diner, she felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to rise above the hardships that had once threatened to consume her. In the quiet of her new room, the soft glow of the streetlight casting a gentle light through the window, Emily lay awake, her mind a whirlwind of thoughts. The day at the diner had been a revelation, a glimpse into a world of normalcy she had long yearned for. Yet, as the night deepened, the echoes of her troubled past crept into her thoughts, casting long shadows over her newfound hope. Her stepfather, a looming figure in her life story, invaded her thoughts uninvited. Memories of his harsh words and harsher actions replayed in her mind, each recollection a sharp jab at her newfound sense of security. She remembered the days of constant fear and manipulation, the feeling of being trapped in a life with no escape. But now, lying in the safety of her room, Emily realized that the grip her stepfather had on her was loosening. The thought of him finding her in this new life sent a shiver down her spine. But she also felt a growing sense of strength within her. She was no longer the same person who had cowered under his shadow. Her thoughts then drifted to her mother, Margaret. She remembered her mother's gentle touch, her warm smile, and the way she used to sing lullabies to soothe her fears. Margaret's presence had been a beacon of love and safety, and her absence had left a void in Emily's heart. Yet, in her heart, Emily knew that her mother would have been proud of the steps she was taking now. As the night wore on, Emily's thoughts turned to her unborn child. She placed a hand on her belly, feeling the life stirring within. A fierce determination rose in her, a promise to herself and her child that they would have a better life, one filled with love, stability, and happiness. The next morning, Emily woke up to the sound of the city coming to life. She felt a renewed sense of purpose as she prepared for her second day at the diner. The challenges of her past were still there, but she now faced them with a support system, something she hadn't had before. At the diner, Emily was greeted with warm smiles and friendly nods. She donned her apron, ready to face the day with a new sense of confidence. John, noticing the change in her demeanor, gave her an encouraging smile. "You're doing great, Emily," he said, his words bolstering her spirit. Throughout the day, Emily found herself falling into a comfortable routine. She took orders with a smile, chatted with the regulars, and even started to pick up some cooking skills from the kitchen staff. The diner, with its lively atmosphere and compassionate people, was becoming a place of healing for her. As the days turned into weeks, Emily's transformation was evident to everyone around her. She was no longer just the pregnant woman in need of help. She was a valued member of the diner family, contributing her part with dedication and gratitude. The shadows of her past were still there, but they were slowly being replaced by the light of a hopeful future. In this new chapter of her life, Emily found not only a safe haven, but also a sense of self-worth and independence. With each passing day, she was stepping further away from the echoes of her troubled past and moving closer to a future she never thought possible. In the bustling city of San Francisco, Emily was finally finding her place, building a life marked not by fear and sorrow, but by hope and resilience. As Emily settled into her new life at the diner, John couldn't help but notice the lingering shadows of fear and uncertainty in her eyes. He knew that these were remnants of her troubled past, one that still held sway over her present. Determined to help, John decided it was time to address the elephant in the room, her abusive stepfather. One evening, after the diner had closed and the last customer had left, John sat down with Emily. "I've been thinking," he began cautiously, "about your stepfather." It's not right for you to live in fear of him. Maybe there's something we can do about it." Emily looked down, her hands fidgeting nervously. "I don't know, John. He's a dangerous man. I've been trying to stay away, to stay under his radar." "I understand," John replied gently, "but you deserve to live without fear. Perhaps we could find a way to ensure he can't hurt you anymore." After a moment of silence, Emily nodded. "Okay, let's try." The next day, John started his mission. His first stop was the local police station, where he inquired about the legal measures Emily could take against her stepfather. The officers were sympathetic and provided him with information on restraining orders and the process of filing a complaint. John's next step was to gather more information about the stepfather. He reached out to some contacts he had made over the years, people who were well versed in the community's happenings. Through discreet inquiries, he learned about the stepfather's recent activities and whereabouts. Meanwhile, Emily continued to work at the diner, finding solace in the routine and the warmth of the people around her. She was unaware of the lengths John was going to, but she felt a sense of safety and support that she had never experienced before. As John delved deeper, he discovered unsettling details about the stepfather's history of violence and intimidation. It was clear that they were dealing with a man who had a long track record of causing harm. With the information he had gathered, John approached Michael, the diner's owner. "Michael, I need your help," he said, laying out the details he had uncovered. "We need to protect Emily from her stepfather. He's a dangerous man." Michael listened intently, his expression turning grim. "You're right, John. We can't let this man continue to terrorize Emily. Let's see what we can do legally. Maybe we can get her some professional help too. A lawyer or a counselor." John nodded in agreement. "I'll continue to gather more information. We need to be prepared for anything." As the days passed, John's resolve only grew stronger. He knew that confronting a man like Emily's stepfather would not be easy, but he was committed to seeing it through. Emily had become more than just an employee. She was a friend, someone he cared about deeply. A quiet battle was brewing, one that would determine the course of Emily's future. John, with the support of Michael and the diner community, was ready to stand up against the darkness of her past, paving the way for a future where Emily could live free from fear and full of hope. With determination etched on his face, John embarked on a journey that would lead him directly to the source of Emily's fears, her stepfather. He had gathered enough information about the man's whereabouts and, with a cautious approach, decided it was time to confront him. John's intent wasn't to provoke a confrontation, but to assess the threat and find a way to neutralize it. The address led John to a run, down part of the city where the air was thick with despair. The building was dilapidated, its walls covered in graffiti, a stark contrast to the warmth and safety of the diner. As he ascended the creaky stairs to the stepfather's apartment, John's heart pounded in his chest, not from fear, but from a deep sense of responsibility for Emily's well-being. He knocked on the door, each thud echoing in the dimly lit hallway. The door swung open, revealing a man with a hardened face and piercing eyes. Emily's stepfather stood there, his demeanor as unwelcoming as his abode. John introduced himself, keeping his tone even and firm. "I'm here to talk about Emily. She's under our care now, and I want to make sure there won't be any trouble from you." The stepfather scoffed, a sneer forming on his lips. "Emily, that girl's nothing but trouble. What do you care about her?" John, undeterred by the hostility, continued. "She's starting a new life, and she doesn't need you haunting her. We're prepared to take legal action if necessary. I'm here to tell you to stay away from her." The air was thick with tension as the two men faced each other. John's resolve was met with the stepfather's simmering anger. But beneath that anger, John could see a flicker of fear, the fear of being exposed and losing control. After a moment that felt like an eternity, the stepfather stepped back, his expression shifting. "Fine. She's no use to me anyway. But if she thinks she can just walk away and start over, she's got another thing coming." With those ominous words, he slammed the door shut. John stood there for a moment, processing the encounter. He knew this wasn't a victory, but a small yet significant step in ensuring Emily's safety. The real battle lay ahead, in ensuring that the stepfather's threats remained just words. Returning to the diner, John found Emily working diligently, her smile a balm to the customers' souls. He watched her for a moment, admiring her strength and resilience. He knew he had made the right decision in confronting her past, but he also knew that the path to freedom from such a dark history was fraught with challenges. That evening, as they closed up, John pulled Emily aside. "I spoke to your stepfather today," he began, choosing his words carefully. "I made it clear that he's to stay away from you. We're also looking into legal ways to protect you." Emily's eyes widened, a mix of emotions playing across her face. Relief, gratitude, and a hint of fear. "Thank you, John. I don't know how to repay you for all this." John shook his head, a soft smile on his face. "You don't owe me anything, Emily. Just keep being the strong person you are. That's more than enough." As they locked up and went their separate ways, both John and Emily felt a weight lift off their shoulders. They had taken a brave step towards confronting the darkness of her past, setting in motion a journey towards light and liberation. In the heart of San Francisco, under the watchful eyes of the stars, they both felt a renewed sense of hope, a belief that no shadow, however dark, could hold them back any longer. In the days following John's confrontation with Emily's stepfather, a sense of cautious optimism began to permeate the atmosphere of the diner. Emily's smiles grew more frequent, and her interactions with the customers became more confident. John watched this transformation with a sense of pride and relief. Yet, amidst this newfound peace, Michael, the diner owner, carried a secret that weighed heavily on his heart. One quiet afternoon, Michael asked John to join him in his office. The office was a small, cozy room filled with memorabilia from Michael's life and travels. John had always felt a sense of respect for Michael, a man who had built a life on hard work and integrity. "John, there's something I need to discuss with you," Michael began, his voice betraying a hint of unease. "It's about Emily. There's more to her story, and it involves me." John listened intently as Michael unfolded a tale that seemed almost unbelievable. Many years ago, Michael and his wife, unable to have children, had turned to surrogacy. They had been blessed with a daughter, but tragedy struck, and Michael's wife passed away shortly after. Heartbroken and overwhelmed, Michael had learned that the surrogate mother had given birth to twins. In his grief, he couldn't bring himself to take both children, so he only took one. Now, years later, Michael suspected that Emily might be his biological daughter, the twin sister of the child he had raised. The realization came to him when he first saw Emily. Something about her had seemed hauntingly familiar. The more he learned about her, the more the pieces of the puzzle seemed to fit. John sat in stunned silence, trying to process the revelation. "So you think Emily is your daughter?" he finally asked, his voice a mixture of shock and disbelief. Michael nodded, his eyes reflecting the turmoil of emotions he was experiencing. "I've been thinking about getting a DNA test done, to be sure, but I needed to tell someone, and I trust you, John." The weight of the revelation hung heavily in the room. John thought about Emily, the struggles she had faced, and the possibility of a family reunion that could change her life forever. "You should tell her, Michael. She deserves to know," John advised, his voice firm. "I know, but I'm scared, John. Scared of how she'll react, and how this will change everything," Michael confessed, his usual composure shaken. John placed a reassuring hand on Michael's shoulder. "We'll figure this out together. Emily has been through a lot. But this could be a turning point for her." They agreed to proceed with the DNA test and to find the right moment to share the truth with Emily. As John left the office, he couldn't help but feel that the diner, a place where he had seen countless stories unfold, was now the center of a story that was as heartwarming as it was complex. In the days that followed, the diner continued to be a haven of warmth and laughter, But beneath the surface, the threads of a hidden past were slowly weaving their way into the present, ready to reveal a truth that could change everything. After the weighty revelation, Michael moved forward with the plan to confirm his suspicions about Emily. He reached out to a seasoned detective, James Fletcher, an old friend known for his discretion and efficiency. Michael explained the situation, detailing his reasons for believing Emily could be his long-lost daughter. Detective Fletcher listened intently, his years of experience telling him that this was no ordinary case. "Michael, if what you suspect is true, this could be quite a revelation for Emily. We need to handle this delicately," he advised. Together, they arranged for a DNA test, ensuring that Emily was approached in a manner that wouldn't raise her suspicions or cause her any distress. The detective suggested a cover story about a routine health checkup provided by the diner for all employees. Emily, unsuspecting of the true nature of the test, agreed to participate. While waiting for the results, Detective Fletcher devised a plan to address another aspect of Michael's story, finding Emily's twin sister, whom Michael had never met. Fletcher proposed creating a false news story about a search for a missing daughter, hoping it would reach the sister and prompt her to come forward. Michael was hesitant at first, worried about the ethical implications, but Fletcher assured him it was a necessary step to uncover the truth and potentially reunite a family. With Michael's reluctant consent, Fletcher set the plan in motion. The story was carefully crafted and released to local newspapers and TV stations. It spoke of a wealthy businessman searching for his long-lost daughter, with enough details to pique interest, but vague enough to protect the privacy of those involved. Back at the diner, Emily continued her work, oblivious to the unfolding drama. Her days were filled with the familiar comfort of the diner's routine, the warmth of its patrons, and the camaraderie of her colleagues. She had grown close to John, who had become not just a friend, but a guardian in her eyes. As the days passed, the news story began to circulate, garnering attention from various corners of the city. Detective Fletcher monitored the responses, waiting for the one call that could change everything. Meanwhile, John observed the subtle changes in Michael, sensing the man's growing anxiety and anticipation. He wished there was more he could do to ease his burden, but knew that some paths had to be walked alone. In this web of secrets and revelations, the diner stood as a silent witness, its walls echoing with the laughter and chatter of everyday life, even as the lives of its owner and one of its employees were on the brink of an extraordinary change. The stage was set, the players in place, and all that remained was for the final act to unfold, an act that promised to bring to light truths long buried and to weave together the threads of a fragmented family. The false news story crafted by Detective Fletcher began to ripple through the community, sparking curiosity and speculation. However, amidst the myriad of responses, one particular call stood out. It was from a young woman named Sarah, who believed she might be the person mentioned in the story. Detective Fletcher, sensing the potential significance of this call, arranged a discreet meeting with her. Sarah arrived at the meeting, a mix of apprehension and curiosity in her eyes. She was in her mid-20s with a striking resemblance to Emily. Fletcher observed her closely, noting the similarities not just in appearance but in certain mannerisms that reminded him of Emily. During their conversation, Sarah revealed that she had been adopted and had always known about it. However, she had little information about her biological parents. The story had resonated with her, stirring a deep-seated curiosity about her origins. Detective Fletcher, maintaining the confidentiality of his client, carefully navigated the conversation, gathering information while revealing little. Convinced of the potential connection, he suggested a DNA test to confirm any biological relationship with Michael. Meanwhile, at the diner, the DNA results confirming Emily's relationship with Michael had arrived. Michael, with a tumult of emotions, shared the news with John first. The results were conclusive. Emily was indeed his biological daughter. The revelation was overwhelming. Michael grappled with a mixture of joy and trepidation. How would Emily react? What would this mean for their future? He turned to John, seeking counsel on how to approach this life. Altering revelation with Emily. "It's going to be a shock for her, no doubt," John said thoughtfully. "But Emily deserves to know the truth. She's been searching for a sense of belonging all her life. This might just be what she needs." With John's support, Michael prepared to reveal the truth to Emily. It was a delicate conversation, one that would unravel the mysteries of Emily's past and offer her a new chapter in life. Emily, unsuspectingly going about her day at the diner, was called into Michael's office. The air was thick with anticipation as Michael, with a gentle tone, began to unfold the story of her birth, the surrogacy, and the heart-wrenching decision he had made years ago. He spoke of his late wife, their longing for a child, and the unbearable loss that had led him to part with one of his newborn daughters. Emily listened, her world tilting as the truths came to light. The revelation that Michael was her biological father was a shock, a twist in her life's narrative that she had never imagined. Tears welled in her eyes, not just from the shock, but also from a sense of belonging that had eluded her for so long. As they navigated through this emotional revelation, Detective Fletcher called Michael with news about Sarah. The DNA test had confirmed that Sarah was Emily's twin sister. This additional revelation was yet another piece of the puzzle, falling into place, completing the picture of Emily's fractured past. In the days that followed, arrangements were made for Emily to meet Sarah. The reunion, filled with tears and laughter, was a moment of profound joy and healing. The sisters, separated since birth, found in each other a reflection of their own spirit and a shared history that had been unknowingly intertwined. The reunion of Emily and Sarah marked the beginning of a profound transformation in their lives. The diner, once a simple backdrop to their individual stories, had become the epicenter of a newfound family bond. As the sisters spent more time together, they began to unravel the threads of their shared past, each conversation a step towards understanding and acceptance. Emily, who had once felt like an outsider looking in, found a sense of belonging not only in her newfound family, but also in her own identity. Her days at the diner were no longer just about work. They became opportunities to connect with her father, Michael, and her sister, Sarah. She saw reflections of herself in Sarah, the same resilience, the same gentle strength. Sarah, on her part, was fascinated by the life Emily had led. She admired her sister's courage and the grace with which she had faced her challenges. The diner became their meeting place, where they shared stories, laughed over old family photos, and gradually pieced together the mosaic of their shared history. For Michael, watching his daughter's bond was a source of immeasurable joy and a balm for the years of guilt and regret he had carried. He took an active role in their lives, eager to make up for the lost time. The diner, his longtime haven, now thrived with the energy of his reunited family. John, who had been instrumental in bringing the truth to light, found himself a witness to a remarkable story of reconciliation and love. He continued to be a close friend to Emily, supporting her through her journey of self-discovery and healing. His role in the diner remained unchanged, but his connection to Emily and her family brought a new depth to his life. The transformation wasn't just confined to their personal lives. The diner itself began to change. Customers, drawn by the heartwarming story of the family reunion, frequented the place, eager to be part of the miraculous tale that had unfolded within its walls. Michael, inspired by the turn of events, introduced new aspects to the diner, including a small photo gallery that chronicled the journey of his family, bringing a personal touch that customers adored. Emily and Sarah, with their shared love for food and family, brought new ideas to the diner's menu, infusing it with dishes that were a nod to their mother's recipes. The diner became more than just a place to eat. It was a place where stories were shared, where laughter echoed, and where the warmth of family was palpable. As the weeks turned into months, the bond between Emily, Sarah, and Michael grew stronger. They celebrated birthdays, anniversaries, and small victories, each celebration a testament to their resilience and the love that had brought them together. The newfound relationship between Emily and Sarah quickly blossomed, turning into a deep, unbreakable bond. Their interactions were filled with moments of discovery, joy, and sometimes tears as they shared the stories of their separate lives. Each day brought a new revelation, a new shared memory, or a piece of their mother's legacy that they could piece together. Emily, who had longed for a family connection after the loss of her mother, found in Sarah not just a sister, but a best friend. They spent hours talking about their dreams, hopes, and the future. Emily introduced Sarah to the regulars at the diner, who had followed her journey and welcomed Sarah with open arms. Sarah, who had grown up in a loving adoptive family, was fascinated by Emily's resilience and strength. She admired how Emily had overcome her adversities and was now blossoming into a confident, strong woman. Sarah shared stories of her own upbringing, her travels, and her life experiences, which were new and fascinating to Emily. Together, they explored San Francisco, visiting places from their mother's past that Michael had told them about. They walked the streets their mother had walked, visited her favorite spots, and in doing so, felt closer to her. These excursions were not just about exploring the city, but about reclaiming a part of their heritage. Michael watched his daughters with a sense of wonder and gratitude. He organized family dinners at the diner after hours, where they would sit and talk for hours. During these dinners, Michael shared stories about their mother, filling in the gaps of their knowledge about her. He spoke of her kindness, her love for cooking, and her gentle spirit. These moments were healing for all of them, bridging the gap that time had created. John, too, became an integral part of these gatherings. He was like an uncle to Emily and Sarah, always ready with a story or joke to lighten the mood. His support and friendship had been crucial to Emily's journey, and now he extended that same warmth and guidance to Sarah. As time passed, the diner became more than just a workplace. It became a symbol of their united family. Emily and Sarah introduced new dishes to the menu, inspired by their mother's recipes and their own culinary experiments. The diner's customers loved these new additions, and the place buzzed with energy and happiness. Emily and Sarah also started a small book club that met at the diner, combining Emily's love for reading and Sarah's passion for community work. The book club quickly became popular, bringing together people from all walks of life to share stories and experiences, much like the sisters themselves. As the bond between Emily and Sarah grew stronger, so did their connection with Michael. The diner, once a simple place of employment for Emily, had transformed into a family gathering spot where new memories were created every day. Michael, who had spent years haunted by his decision and the loss of his wife, found solace in the laughter and stories that now filled the diner. The reconciliation process was healing for Michael. He often found himself watching Emily and Sarah, marveling at how two lives, once separated, were now intertwined. The girls brought a new energy to his life and the business. He started involving them in decisions about the diner, valuing their opinions and ideas. It was more than just a business for him now. It was a legacy he was building for his daughters. Meanwhile, Emily and Sarah discovered the joy of having a father in their lives. Michael's wisdom, his anecdotes about their mother, and his unconditional support gave them a sense of security they had never known. They celebrated Father's Day for the first time, organizing a small surprise party at the diner, inviting close friends and regular customers. It was an emotional day for Michael, filled with both joy and tears, as he realized the magnitude of what he had regained. The sense of family extended beyond the immediate members. The staff at the diner, who'd been a part of Emily's journey from the beginning, embraced Sarah and Michael as part of their own. The diner had always been a place where people were treated like family, but now it was literal, and that brought a new warmth to the atmosphere. John, ever the supportive friend and confidant, found his place within this extended family. He often joined them for family meals, and his advice and support were invaluable to both Emily and Sarah. His role in bringing the family together was never forgotten, and he was respected and loved for it. The story of Emily, Sarah, and Michael became known in the community, and the diner turned into a symbol of hope and resilience. People came not just for the food, but to be part of the incredible story of reunion and love. The diner's walls were adorned with pictures of the family, including one of their mother, Margaret, smiling down at them. As the seasons changed, so did the lives of Emily, Sarah, and Michael. They celebrated holidays together, each event a reminder of their journey and the love that had brought them back together. Thanksgiving was particularly special as they gathered around the table, each expressing gratitude for the family they had become. Emily and Sarah's bond also brought about changes in their personal lives. They supported each other's dreams and aspirations. Emily, inspired by Sarah's strength and her own newfound confidence, enrolled in night classes to pursue her dream of becoming a writer. Sarah, with her passion for community service, initiated more community-based events at the diner, turning it into a hub for local activities and support. The diner, once a simple establishment in San Francisco, had become a place of stories, of laughter, of tears, and of new beginnings. It was a testament to the fact that family isn't just about blood. It's about the bonds that are formed through love, understanding, and support. For Emily, Sarah, and Michael, the diner was not just a place of work. It was home, a place where they had found each other and, in doing so, had found themselves. The story of Emily, Sarah, and Michael had woven itself into the fabric of the diner, creating an atmosphere that resonated with warmth and family. As their bond deepened, Michael decided it was time to celebrate this newfound joy in a significant way. He announced his plans to host a grand celebration, not just for the family they had become, but also for the community that had supported them. The celebration was planned for the diner, transforming it into a venue of festivity and joy. Decorations adorned the walls. Fairy lights twinkled, and tables were set up with a feast that combined traditional family recipes with new creations by Emily and Sarah. The guest list included not only their close friends and family, but also the regulars of the diner, who had become a part of their extended family. On the day of the celebration, the diner was filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses. Emily and Sarah, dressed beautifully, moved through the crowd, greeting guests and sharing stories. Michael, looking overjoyed, mingled with the guests, his heart full of gratitude. John, true to his nature, helped orchestrate the event, ensuring everything ran smoothly. His bond with the family was evident, as guests often saw him sharing a joke with Michael or dancing with Emily and Sarah. As the evening progressed, Michael called for everyone's attention. The room hushed as he stood, his eyes glistening with emotion. He spoke of the journey they had been on, the pain of the past, and the joy of the present. He thanked everyone for their support, for being a part of their lives, and for celebrating this moment with them. Then, in a surprise move, Michael announced a special gift for Emily and Sarah: a trip to Europe, a chance for them to explore their roots and experience adventures together. The room erupted in applause, and Emily and Sarah were overcome with emotion, hugging Michael tightly. The night continued with dancing, storytelling, and an abundance of food and drink. It was more than just a party. It was a symbol of the healing and love that had transformed their lives. The diner, with its humble beginnings, had become a place where life's most beautiful moments were celebrated. As the night wound down, Emily and Sarah stood together, looking around at the faces of friends, family, and well-wishers. They realized how far they had come, from the uncertainty and isolation of their pasts to the unbreakable bond they now shared. In that moment, under the soft glow of the diner's lights, they made a silent promise to each other to cherish this second chance at family, to support each other's dreams, and to always remember the journey that had brought them together. The celebration at the diner had been a night of joy and unity. But for Emily, Sarah, and Michael, the most poignant moment came in the days that followed. Michael decided it was time to confront a chapter of their past that had remained unaddressed: a visit to Emily's stepfather. With trepidation and a newfound sense of strength, the trio embarked on the journey together. Michael, Emily, and Sarah drove through the city, each lost in their thoughts about the impending encounter. Emily felt a mix of fear and resolution. This was a chance to finally close a painful chapter of her life. They arrived at the run. Down neighborhood where Emily's stepfather lived. The air was heavy with memories as they approached the door. Emily took a deep breath, steadied by the presence of Michael and Sarah by her side. Michael knocked on the door, his demeanor calm but firm. The door opened, and Emily's stepfather appeared, his surprise evident at the sight of the three visitors. "Emily," he muttered, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "We're not here to cause trouble," Michael began. "We're here to let you know that Emily is no longer alone. She has a family now, and we will do everything to protect her." The stepfather's gaze shifted between Emily and the others, a mixture of confusion and realization dawning on him. Emily stepped forward, her voice steady. "I'm here to tell you that your hold over me is gone. I've found my family, my strength, and my future. This is the last time you'll see me." There was a tense silence, a moment that seemed to stretch endlessly. Then, without a word, the stepfather stepped back and closed the door. It was an anticlimactic but deeply symbolic gesture, the final severing of ties with a past that had held Emily in its shadows. As they walked away, Emily felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The fear and pain that had once consumed her thoughts about this place and this man were now just fading echoes. She had faced her past, not alone, but with a family that stood by her, a family that had given her the strength to reclaim her life. In the days that followed, Emily, Sarah, and Michael returned to their routine at the diner, but with a renewed sense of peace and closure. The diner continued to be a place of warmth and community, its walls echoing with stories of hope and resilience. Emily's journey had come full circle. From the depths of despair to finding a family she never knew she had. And confronting her past, she had emerged stronger and more determined to embrace her future. Sarah, too, found a new chapter in her life, one that was intertwined with Emily's in ways she had never imagined. Michael watched his daughters with a heart full of love and gratitude. The pain of the past had given way to a future filled with possibilities. He had lost so much, but now he had gained more than he had ever hoped for. As they continued to work side by side at the diner, serving customers and sharing laughter, Emily, Sarah, and Michael knew that they had each other, a bond unbreakable and profound. They had turned a place of work into a home, a group of customers into a community, and a story of loss into one of triumph. In the heart of San Francisco, the diner stood as a testament to their journey, a journey of healing, discovery, and the unyielding power of family. For Emily, it was no longer just a place where she had found a job. It was where